Religion without a personal encounter with Jesus Christ will not save the soul, and it will not bring the peace that your soul longs for. You may be a member of some other religion. You may be Catholic, Protestant, Jewish. You may be Hindu, Muslim. Whatever your background, you may not have any.
What is the earliest available hadith sources for Islam, for Muhammad?
Well, that's the thing. I can't tell you exactly what the earliest sources are.
Well, in terms, okay, please come here. Sorry, I'm trying to. Do you appreciate that even at face value, the claim by Muslims is that Sahih al-Bukhari comes from 200 plus years after the death of Muhammad? Do you appreciate that?
Books of Hadith, right? And the system of authentication when it comes to the Hadith, right? For example, Imam Bukhari had a strict system of authentication.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a study in itself.
Yeah. What is the earliest available hadith sources for Islam, for Muhammad?
Well, that's the thing. I can't tell you exactly what the earliest sources are.
Well, in terms
authenticity of Hadith.
So, in terms, okay, please come here. Sorry, I'm trying to. Please come here. I'm trying to. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. So, in regards to Muhammad, do you understand that? Are you a Sunni Muslim?
I'm a Muslim that follows the Sunnah of the Prophet and the
Sunnah and the Prophet, Sunni Muslim. So, in regards to the 6 canonical hadith sources, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and so on. Yeah. Do you appreciate that even at face value, the claim by Muslims is that Sahih al-Bukhari comes from 200 plus years after the death of Muhammad? Do you appreciate that?
Well, I don't know what the reality is. That's the thing. You're asking someone.
But this is the Islamic claim. Sahih al-Bukhari, you can. If you have a phone. What's that?
I've only got your word to take for that. You understand?
No. If you have a phone, you can quickly check up online.
That's fine.
The claim.
If this is the answer that you're looking for, saying there are many more knowledgeable speakers in this part that can answer that question.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
But I want to ask you, what is your ultimate point to the question? If you ask me questions, okay, I can't say I know dates and references, but what is the ultimate point you're trying to get to?
Okay, so my ultimate point is the historical person of Muhammad is not what we find in terms of archaeology. That is my ultimate point.
Okay.
So in terms of the early available resources and trying to find who Muhammad is or was really, as opposed to the fantasy Muhammad that Islam has constructed, I find a problem. They are not consistent with each other. For instance, you might know the claim that Muhammad, so in terms of the Quran, you might have been given the claim that Muhammad received the Quran by revelation. Yeah, you appreciate that. That's a claim made.
Well,
and the claim made is that the revelation come from Gabriel. Yeah. This is a claim you have been given. This is a story you have been given. But unfortunately, the Quran itself contradicts that.
Okay.
So, if I may ask you to read this particular verse, Surah 6.
Surah 6 verse what?
1 second, sorry. Okay. Surah 6, verse 7 onward. When I read, it says, "Had we sent down to you writing upon a parchment so that they could feel it with their hands, those who disbelieve would have said this is nothing else than mere magic." So clearly the Quran agrees that the Quran did not come as a revelation just like that.
But how are you getting that from that?
That's what it says.
So have we sent down to you
Yeah.
writing upon parchment, i.e. paper, or so that they can feel it with their hands? Those who disbelieve would say this is nothing but mere magic.
If that is what I did, they would have done something. In other words, he is saying that is not what I have done.
No, but
do you appreciate that?
But you got to understand, those people back then were doing everything they can to overthrow Muhammad, right? You had very stern enemies against Islam, right? And you have to understand, right, that the Arabs were the best at poetry back then. And what Muhammad did is when he came and he was saying what he was saying, right, there was beauty in what he was saying.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's a whole, you can do a whole lecture on like, miracles of the Quran and the way it's written and how it's composed, etc., etc.
Where do you get your information from?
But just look at the Quran itself. When you study that,
Where, what information? So, looking at the Quran, how do you understand these historical contexts?
No, but
The details of the historical.
I'm talking about the Arabic version. Muhammad was an Arab.
No, but in English, you should find the information reasonably there.
The Arabic language is a richer language than the English language.
Now, I am trying to understand the historical context. I am trying to understand historical person of Muhammad.
Existed or not? Is that what you're asking? Are you asking?
I am trying to understand who that guy really was. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Who Muhammad was?
The historical person of Muhammad.
Well, Muhammad, essentially in a nutshell, was a prophet sent by God, the last of many messengers sent by God.
But in terms of history, who did he get married to?
So his first wife was Khadija.
Where do you get the information?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of historians that are...
Like which ones?
When I told you about the Hadith, right? When I told you about how the Hadith is authenticated, right? It's who was there when they said it, and who was there when they said it, and who was there, and who was there, to the point where who was around the Prophet when they heard him say that.
So in other words, you are now appealing to the Hadiths, yeah. And I'm going to tell you, Sahih al-Bukhari comes 250 years after the death of Muhammad. And please explain to me, from a resource which came at least 250 years. I don't even believe it came 250 years ago. This is the Islamic claim.
So are you Christian, right?
I am a Christian. So even if I take it at face value, that Sahih al-Bukhari was written 250 years after Muhammad. The question is, how do you know, how did Sahih al-Bukhari know about that?
But could you not apply that to the Bible as well?
Okay, I can apply the same thing to the Bible. Okay, about the person of Jesus Christ, we have first century resources, evidence or records from Christian witnesses, records from non-Christian Roman historians from the first century, records from non-Christian Jewish historian from the first century, records from non-Christian Greek writers from the first century. Right in the century when Jesus walked on the face of the earth, we have evidence. Now about Muhammad, do you have any first century Islamic Hijrah, first century evidence?
So what you're saying is, I'm aware that the earliest manuscripts of the Bible in Koine Greek was 70 AD after Jesus Christ, right?
70 AD.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. About 50 to 70 AD, right? But you're saying it's within the first
century. Yeah.
Right? But those manuscripts, right, are written in Koine Greek. What language did Jesus speak? He spoke Aramaic. So the Gospel of Jesus, right?
I don't understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is simple. I am giving you whichever language. I'm giving you evidence or records of details about the person of the historical person of Jesus Christ from the first century. And I'm asking you the question, for Muhammad, can you give me...
Talk about witnesses.
Yeah,
right?
For Muhammad, let me finish.
For
one second.
Christ being crucified. All of his clients were crucified.
No, you're confusing me now. No, one second. What's your name?
My name is Ali.
Ali, please, you need to focus. You need to stay focused on the question I'm asking. The question and the point I'm making is simple.
You got quarrel whether who Muhammad is historically and what his position was in history. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're saying
I am trying to understand.
Because I have not studied this, right? I'm not a person of knowledge. Like I said, there's people in the spot that are more knowledgeable than I am, right? But I'm not understanding. Are you saying that the earliest records of Prophet Muhammad? You're saying it's 250 years after he died, right? I don't understand. Are you saying that?
I am saying these are later fanciful ideas.
Fanciful ideas, okay.
Later fanciful ideas. Earlier resources that we get contradicts the claims by the later fanciful ideas. That's my claim.
Give me an example.
Okay, good. That's a good question. So, you are told that Gabriel came to Muhammad to reveal the Quran.
Okay.
That's the later source. The Hadiths talk about that. Later source. But the Quran itself is an earlier source. We don't know how we got the Quran, but we have a book called the Quran, which we have manuscripts for this book from even around the time of 650 AD. So we have from the 1st century of Islam, we have this book. Now I am reading the Quran, and the Quran tells me that Islamic Allah, the Quranic text says, no angel visited Muhammad. Here, Surah 6. If I read from verse 7, but my focus right now is verse 9. Verse 8 and verse 9. They say, it's now narrating how people are challenging Muhammad, or challenging the one about whom this is talking. It says, they say, why has not an angel been sent down to him? Why has there not been an angel sent down to him? If we send down an angel, then the matter would be judged. No further time would be allowed. If that were to happen, in other words, what he is saying is, the challenge is people around Muhammad, or people around the person who is being referred to here, are asking, why did this guy not receive a revelation from an angel? And the answer being given is, if an angel were to come and reveal something, then there would not be any more time given. In other words, because of that reason, I am not sending down an angel, is what this verse is saying.
So,
please read.
They say, why has not an angel been sent down? If we sent down an angel, then the matter will be different.
It's a simple English statement. You can read the Arabic if you want, but the English is good enough, I think. The point simply is, it is saying, if I had done this, it's not going to be okay, and therefore I am not doing this. In other words, an angel hasn't been sent, it says. Read that. 8, 9. You can read 9 also if you want. You see that? So it's clearly saying, well, if I had, as a possibility, if I had done this, then the situation would be different. And so it is suggesting that he didn't do it. Bear in mind, this is in the Quran, but according to the later sources, according to the later fantasy sources, the very beginning of the revelation of the Quran was after the visitation of Gabriel. Yeah? Gabriel came and spoke, and only then any revelation was given to Muhammad. That is the claim of the later fantasy sources. But the Quran itself claims that is not the case. And so we have a problem. We find manuscripts for the Quran from the 1st century. We don't, even Islam says Sahih al-Bukhari was written later. And this says no angel involved. In other words, this idea that an angel came and revealed something to Muhammad is fantasy. Do you see my point?
I mean, I see what you extrapolate from those verses.
Well, tell me, please finish.
What I'm trying to say is, again, when it comes to, I mean, don't hold the weight of knowledge on my shoulders. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. In other words, all that you say, please finish. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, when it comes to tafsir, right, when it comes to understanding verses of the Quran, right, like I'm saying, if you have that question, there are many knowledgeable Muslims in this part that know the life of the Prophet. They are very technical when it comes to references and years and books and authors, right? And they could give you more comprehensive answers. Now, just because I'm just coming to you and saying, look, I don't know the ins and outs of Hadith and history and biography and autobiography, that kind of thing. Does not mean that, you know, my advice to you is, look, go to someone with knowledge who can actually explain
Ali, how old are you, Ali?
I'm 27.
27. You are an adult.
Yeah.
You can make life decisions right now.
I can, yes.
You can decide who you get married to. You can decide what profession you'd like to get to. You can decide what the plan for the rest of your life could be, and so on. You are an adult. You are not a child anymore.
No, I understand that.
But the problem is this. I'm showing you a simple verse. And you are asked to read the Quran, aren't you? As a Muslim, you are expected to read the Quran. And I am showing to you, this is not even my version. You see, this is the meaning of the glorious Quran. Islamic Dawah Center International. You can read there. This comes from this particular one, printed in Turkey. And if you read some details here, you understand this is not from a Christian source. This is a Quran given by an Islamic source. You can take any other version of the Quran if you want. If you're familiar with Arabic, you can read the Quran in Arabic yourself. But the problem is this. Ultimately, you need to take your decision. And the decision is simple. When you read Surah 6,
That's fine.
Ayah 8 and 9, it is clear what the implication is. And the implication simply is that an angel has not been sent. That you can read that again. There is no other way you can read those two verses. And this is in the Quran. If this was a text which came before the Quran, then we can written, no angel visited Muhammad. Maybe after this text was written, that particular outside of the Quran text was written, an angel visited and then he wrote the Quran. That could be an explanation. But this is a text which is in the Quran.
Right.
You see my point? And therefore, this text could not imply an angel did not visit Muhammad. So my point simply is.
So I'm just here for knowledge. I'm trying to understand.
Exactly.
Where do you think the Quran came from?
So in other words, my knowledge simply is going to be these fellows. When you go home, when you have access to your Islamic sources, like your teachers, whoever, ask them, but please stick to the details. You can think also. They will give you fantasy ideas again. They will tell you about Sahih al-Bukhari. They will tell you about Isnad, the chain and all those things. Ask them, what is the evidence that you want to give me? And ask them if that evidence predates this. Now, even if my challenge is it would not predate this, even if it predates, point of this is simple. No angel involved. In other words, you have a contradictory religion where at one place it says no angel revealed anything to Muhammad, and then in another place you are told an angel coming to Muhammad was the beginning of any revelation. So you need to leave Islam.
Well,
when you believe something your whole life, it's very scary to just suddenly start to question validity. What advice can you give to someone?
You see, that is a valid, and that might be something that you may run through also.
It's very scary.
look, even if I said I was going to leave Islam, Christianity would not be to go to.
No, we'll talk about that in a bit. Ali, no, don't take that decision, please. Not yet.
I'm not going to because
how
Islam,
do you know?
Because Islam to me as a monotheistic faith makes the most sense to me.
No. So tell me, how does this make sense? You need to stick to this. How can this say there was no angel involved? You need to. You can't walk around with a contradictory mindset. You simply need to reconcile. Otherwise, it's called schizophrenia.
Again, what I'm saying is, there's tafsir to these verses, right?
Okay, if you want tafsir, I can show you tafsir.
What I'm saying is, look, there are many Muslim learned people here.
Ali.
Have you asked them? I mean, I've come here and,
Ali, maybe in half an hour or so, after conversing with you, I will go around and pose the same challenge to those people. If you want, you can check out, okay? And I can vouch you that there is a greater than 50% chance that they will run away from me. I can vouch this to you. So the point simply is, your life is on the line at the moment. And I am not reading to you from my notebook or from my book or from some other Christian's book. I'm not. I am reading to you from the Quran. Do you have a Quran on your phone?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Please take that Quran if you prefer. You can read from the Quran you have on your phone. Read Surah 6, Ayahs 8 and 9, please. And you will find the same information.
$6,000. his argument, he said that the Bible and the Quran have been translated and given to the people in their language. But when the Christians use that example for the Bible, he doesn't accept it. What does he say? He says, that's the way. He was saying that Jesus said to the lost people. But even we have another.
Yeah, 8 and 9. There is no. Please try and read that again and try and tell me. Is there any other implication apart from the clear implication that there was no angel revealed to Muhammad? It's a simple text, and it is not my text, it is your text, and it is in plain sight. I am not twisting anything. It's there for you to read. When you go home, you can even read Al-Tabari or some other tafsir if you want, and it cannot run around that fact. It is very important. Now, what my brother asked earlier was very important. I know it will be traumatic. 27 years of following some religion, for you to suddenly realize a fundamental fact, which is that somehow an angel came to speak to Muhammad, is falsified from your own source. Could be traumatic, I understand. Your family may even ostracize you, I understand. But the fact of the matter is, truth should always guide us. And you are thankfully, in your case, you are a young gentleman. You are someone who, let's say, do you go to a gym?
Yeah.
So you work out and everything? So you are someone who can deal with this. Just consider if someone else was a lady, and for her to find that, it's going to be even more traumatic. But the point still would be, you need to leave Islam. Now, to answer you about Christianity, I'll come to you in this place. Fundamental aspects of Jesus Christ. That Jesus was crucified on the cross, that he claimed to be God, people saw him to be God, and that the church began to exist with Jesus Christ. For all of that, I have first century witness accounts, both from Christians and non-Christians.
So
for all of them.
What's your belief?
I am a Christian.
Do you believe in the Trinity?
I believe in the Trinity, yes.
Right. So
Trinity is a very, how do I put this? When you go through the Bible, which I have gone through for years, Ali, when I go through the Bible, I understand God of the Bible is a complex God. That I understand. I am not saying the revelation of God is very trivial or simplistic. I am not saying that. No Christian would dare to say that. The revelation of God of the Bible is complex, we understand. But it's not contradictory. That is the key point we want to make. The revelation of God as given in scriptures, very consistent,
how
coherent.
Do you believe in the Trinity?
Okay. Are you, what is your area? Are you working now? Are you studying?
Yeah.
Working?
Yeah.
What do you work as?
Project manager.
Project manager. What kind of domain?
Finance.
Finance. So you know numbers and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, numbers. Yeah, good. So you understand the idea or concept of infinity?
Okay. Yeah.
Roughly.
Roughly. Has no end.
Yeah. So you know that infinity is a very real concept that has very real practical applications. You know, differential calculus, the area of calculus in mathematics uses infinity a lot. Integral calculus, 0 to infinity and so on. If you come across those things?
Okay. Yeah.
Roughly, yeah. So infinity is a very real concept. We don't know everything about it, but we know it is real. And we use it in our daily lives. We use it. But if I could ask you a simple question, do you know what infinity plus infinity plus infinity is?
If you're asking me if my mind can fathom that, no.
What's that?
If you're asking me if my mind can fathom that, then no.
My mind can't fathom either, but what I'm asking has been established. The result of what I'm asking has been established by mathematics. Infinity, if you subtract 1 from infinity, what do you get? In mathematics. I'm not asking if your mind can fathom it. Of course, my mind, no finite mind can fathom all of what infinity is. I agree.
You can't take from infinity, can you? 'Cause no, right?
You can take from infinity, you can, because you can put that in a mathematical equation and subtract 1 from it. You can if you want. But when you take 1 from infinity, do you know what is left?
If it's infinity, it means it's ongoing. So
Exactly. Even if you take one from infinity, you will still be left with 1. Infinity. Infinity minus 1 is infinity. This mathematics knows of. How, we don't know, but this is true, we know. Because this is established, demonstrated by mathematics. You understand me so far?
I'll have to research that, but okay.
Yeah, this is true in mathematics. Infinity plus 5 is infinity, infinity minus 5 is infinity, and so on.
Yeah, I'll have to research that. It's your word.
Good. Yeah. Likewise, infinity plus infinity is also infinity. Now, coming back to you, that explains Trinity to us. There is God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Yahweh, who showed up in 3 persons.
Okay.
Showed up on the face, Jesus showed up on the face of the earth. The Father spoke from the heavens, and the Holy Spirit of God also showed up, but not in human form, on earth. All 3 persons showed up in slightly different ways, but still revealed themselves to human beings, to Christians, to Jews who wrote the Hebrew scriptures down. Showed up. And so in each of those cases, we understood that each of them was claiming that they were the same Yahweh. The same Yahweh. Not 3 Yahwehs, the same Yahweh. Now, of course, we also apply our minds to understand God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. In other words, God is what, in mathematical terms, approximately, God is an infinity.
Okay.
So when you have the Father, infinity, Son, infinity, Holy Spirit of God, infinity, each of them is infinity, agreed, but even when you add all 3 infinities together, you still only have 1 infinity, the same God, not 3 gods. This is where if you ask your Muslim brothers, because they haven't got a clue about mathematics and they are not reasonable in their discussions, they will not grapple with this simple idea. God is infinite. You would have heard.
I know they give you a quote in the Bible that says when Jesus is asked of the hour, he doesn't know, he says only the Father knows the hour. So how do you reconcile that?
Is that the only hurdle you have?
No, but let me ask you, I just want to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
I want to hear an answer. I mean,
Sure.
a lot of the times when I come, a lot of shouting going on.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to ask you.
Well, Ali, you are listening
Yeah.
and you are engaging in a conversation.
Be civil.
And to anyone who engages, I give an answer. And so I'm going to give you an answer. Okay? In my view of the Bible, people have different ideas of omniscience. What omniscience is. Omniscience, as we understand, we agree, it is knowledge of all things. Yeah? Omniscience, knowledge of all things. And Jesus also was omniscient, knowledgeable of all things. But what does all things mean is the crucial question I ask. All things only means all things which are real. You appreciate this so far? Not imaginary things. No, according to me, I'm giving you my answer.
To you, okay.
Yeah, according to me, my answer. So, Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Harry Potter is a fictional character.
Yeah.
Have you ever met the fictional character Harry Potter?
No.
No one can meet. No one can meet.
Okay.
The reason no one can meet is that he is fictional. That's the reason. If he had been real, someone could meet. Because he is fictional, no one can meet.
So I don't really get what you mean. So
Okay.
because of that verse, what do you mean? What's not
In
real?
regards to the verse, it's simple. When the last hour is going to be, that decision hasn't been made yet. And the decision which hasn't been made yet is not real for it to be known.
The decision hasn't been made yet. But
The last hour decision hasn't been made yet.
so you're saying God didn't make that decision at that time?
God hasn't. According to the Bible, the decision as to when He is going to send the Son has not been made yet. And that is the crucial thing you and I need to
This is what I
understand.
don't understand. The decision hasn't been made yet. That's a time-bound statement. But God isn't time-bound.
No.
If we understand God, then, or we try to understand, we understand God isn't time-bound. Time doesn't encompass God. So
That's a very good question, and the answer is simple, Ali. we understand from the Bible. Of course, we are time bound. God is not time bound. We understand. But even after having understood that, what we understand is when prophets saw things outside of time, revelation of God, that still went frame by frame. That still went frame by frame, as if it was in video. Do you see what I'm saying? Even events outside of time happen frame by frame, as if it is similar to how things appear within time. That is how we understand revelation from the Bible.
I feel that's a bit of a far-fetched claim in terms of how you understand things.
That's a bit of what?
I feel that's a bit of a far-fetched claim
It's not.
to say what happens outside of time.
It's not. I can read to you from the Bible. No, let's put it this way. I understand. Now, you and I don't understand how eternity works. Our source of information has to be from God.
Okay.
And so I depend on the revelation of Bible to give you this point. There are a few different places where prophets saw events outside of time. They saw.
Okay.
And when they saw what they saw, all those events also rolled from one frame to another. That's how they saw it.
The frame was wood or metal?
Metal. You see what they do? All that they would do is make you run away, make you not face questions. Because you know what, you can decide. Ali, you're 27 years old.
Yeah, no,
You can decide. Yeah, I'm not just talking about today. I'm not just talking about today.
If he want, the brother, he want to debate him, he don't want, he was running away. He knew like a fish.
Ali,
Yeah, you give me a couple of verses to look at. And I'll
good.
look at
So now, can I please? Okay, that's good. I'll speak to you in 2 minutes. Okay. Can I please suggest you something? Please come here. Please come here.
He doesn't want to speak to any of the knowledge.
But please say hello later. When these guys are not looking at you, please say hello later. All right, that is Islamic Dawah gang. Islamic Dawah gang does not allow people to think. Islamic Dawah gang requests people to run away when faced with questions. Why? Because when questions are asked, people run away. When questions are asked, people run away. He is not a Muslim. He is not a Muslim. Can Muslims defend the Quran? Can Muslims? Of course I can, all day long. But I am now talking about the Quran. Excuse me, sir. Do you believe?
The amount of time we got crushed by so many Muslim people.
Is that why you're standing there as opposed to standing here? You seem to be a bit afraid.